Hi,
Awesome.
Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jackie. Super excited to be the first interview. I'm going to start off with the tough question first. I think that we've seen a lot of video game adaptations over the years, and they're not great all the time. So, how do you make a video game adaptation good?
Take it away, Dave.
Oh wow, first one. Um, I think you should be prepared to take some risks, and I think that's one of the best parts about the series is that the format and how we set about adapting the video games. We got a lot of freedom both from the IP holders who have trusted us over 30 years of working sort of tangential to the game industry and Amazon. We got to not only sort of digest all the lore that makes the games great, but challenge them to take risks about how to tell stories that aren't maybe as traditional as one would expect adaptations to be.
I would add, you also have to love games, and I think Blur is the perfect company to do this show because we've been in the game industry making game cinematics and trailers for 30 years. So we
Yes,
we
it
know our shit.
seems
Uh,
obvious, but
yeah,
you should
seems
you
obvious.
should like you should
You
like
should
what you're
like what you're
adapting.
thinking. Yeah.
I mean, it seems obvious, but I think oftentimes we see a lot of companies and they don't understand these games or they don't know what the lore is and they just kind of go ham and then we just see disaster. I'd love to learn a little bit more about how these stories came to be. And I guess a little bit about what the research process was like too.
Did you say go ham?
Yeah,
Ham,
I
Ham.
ham.
Ham. No, ham.
Did you say ham?
Go ham.
can go ham. Have you
Is that
just
what the kids say these days? I
no,
I,
I
I like
definitely
that.
think the kids say that, but
I like that.
Um, the research process is actually is interesting. There's a whole so we created Love, Death, and Robots, and there was a process in there where Tim picked short stories, and they became the stories that are the episodes. And we wanted to continue the sort of author process. We is the story process starts with authors, not screenwriters. So it's not just Tim and I sitting in a room, sort of homogenizing the whole series. So we would bring some of our favorite science fiction and fantasy authors into the room, and we would just the first step is taking all the information from the game developers and publishers, and we build these creative guides. They're like 50, 100 pages, and we distill all the pertinent lore down that we want to sort of focus the story on. We share that with the authors. They come back with pitches. Sometimes they're awesome, sometimes they're crazy, and sometimes they're both. And then those get adapted into short stories, and those get turned into screenplays, and ultimately the episode that you see. But that first step, the sort of what we call building our creative guides, that's where like the whole sort of the lore of the games comes
And
together.
we really have this huge built-in advantage because of what games are. There's hundreds of people usually, or sometimes one. In the case of Spelunky, there's just one dude, Derek, who makes the game. But they know the lore, the characters, the worlds inside and out. And the first conversation is with them. And what do you think are the most interesting characters? What do you think are the most interesting parts of the lore to explore or the worlds? What do we do a route less traveled, or do we do the fan favorites? And it's great because the place to start is with people who know it inside and out. And we go right to the source with those guys. They have a
okay.
great title at a lot of game companies called Lore Master. What a fucking great title. I want to be a lore master.
There is a title that these developers, that there's like a role called lore master.
Oh,
Awesome.
they exist all over the place, not just games, films, TV. Like there's usually a person who's the custodian of all that information. On our series, it's Jeff Juhas. I don't know how he does it, but like you can ask him any question about any episode or any character within that episode, and he has locked it away somewhere up there.
I'm not even lore master of my own life, so I don't know how they do it. But anyway,
Okay, we need Jeff on our trivia team, apparently, it sounds like.
Yeah.
he'd
But
crush.
I'm taking what you just told me, and then I'm like, Pac-Man then. What happened with Pac-Man then? Because like I feel like there's not really a lot of lore there, except that it's like this little
Or
circle.
is there?
Yes. There's a deep philosophical question implied in Pac-Man.
Um, that
Eat. You,
that
you must eat
yeah,
to live. Eat
there
or be.
is that one went through the author process. We didn't feel like we had anything that embodied our conversation we had with our developers. Without saying too much, I think people will watch that and think we just went off to a dark place and came back with a weird Pac-Man story, but we didn't do it on our own. And
It was fully sanctioned, is what David
and
saying.
I think people will think yes, we came up with something weird, but the truth is the mission statement from Bandai was succinctly, we would like audiences to wonder what the fuck we did to Pac-Man.
And it's kind of important for us to say
they
this
did
too.
it. They said it in Japanese, so the translator technically said it, but that's exactly what they said.
Yeah, I don't know what the Japanese word for fuck is. But
no, I'm not even exaggerating. That was the brief.
But this is important because as we work with these game developers, I think it's important that I think back to your original question, often it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? And I think it's because sometimes people say, thank you for your IP, we'll see you later. And they go and do their own interpretation without heeding the wise words of the developers. So it's important for us to say, look, we didn't just go, hey, thanks for Pac-Man. Now we're going to take it and do whatever the fuck we want. We did it. We didn't do that. We would never do that.
Honestly, I haven't been able to see screeners yet, but what I have seen, like you guys have paid homage to these video games so well. My reaction, or what I want to know though, what was Bandai's reaction when they saw Pac-Man then? Because they wanted this what the fuck reaction. So did they like what they saw?
Very much so. In fact, I expected every step along the way for us to, one of the difficult things is someone challenges you to take a risk. They go, be bold, make something awesome. And then as they near the finish line, they get a little more nervous about what they're seeing. Like, oh, we read this, it's terrifying. We watched it, it's more terrifying. And then slowly, like, you expect the room to be filled with sort of risk-averse executives who are like, okay, we made a mistake. But they never arrived, and they just let us keep going. Right.
I happened to go to Japan, and we sat down with them as to not just to show them the finished episode. We were over there doing a bunch of other stuff, but I happened to show it to a bunch of people at Bandai who hadn't seen it before. And it was definitely not what they expected. I mean, I could watch them watching the show and their faces changed, but in a really positive way. Like this group of people that I was talking to didn't know exactly what we were doing or what to expect. And it was a really great experience because they loved it.
Aw, I can't wait to see the whole thing. I'm running out of time, so I wanted to ask you all just a couple more questions if I have time. What would be the dream video game that you would want to adapt, and how would it go down?
Oh, we can't say that. There's so many.
Yeah, there are many, but I mean, I think, and it's going to be different whoever you ask, but I think it's the games that were seminal to us when we were growing up, right? So if you ask any Blurian, like, I'm sure Quake will be up there because we used to play it during lunch all the time.
Wolfenstein,
or Doom, or
Flashback,
King's Quest, and like they're going to be all, we're old, so they're going to be games
and Asteroids and like
and Pong. Eventually,
and Centipede.
Someone
Yes,
let us make a Pong episode.
Yes, the classics.
Oh, thank you so much for the interview. This is fantastic, and I cannot wait to see the show. The clips I've seen have been great. I wasn't even able to get to my Warhammer question, but that clip was my favorite. So
Dave directed that. It's amazing.
So
yeah,
good.
We're excited about him.
Oh, thank you all so much.
Thank you. Cheers.